What's up, guys? Thank you for tuning in to Connected by Creatures tonight. Zach is caught up in traffic trying to get to the Herps Conroe show. So we're going to try and get Zach in a little bit later. But we do have two amazing guests for you. We have Erica and Ryan McVeigh. How you guys doing?
We're doing good.
Mm-hmm.
Happy to see you guys here. Yeah, like we were talking right before the stream. I kind of want to just jump right into that because I'm interested in it, and I don't know if everybody else would be, but I think it's cool. You said that your daughter just done her first recital or has her first ballet recital coming up.
She just had it.
Yep.
So our one of my good friends that actually when I started at Zilla, he was the first lab tech for me. Took care of the crazy collection. It was really, and he ended up going out to San Diego State to do his doctorate in herpetology. And super cool guy. And then his girlfriend is a professional ballet dancer, and she put something out when COVID started of like, hey, anybody want to do a session with me today via Zoom? I was like, that's kind of cool. I never thought about that. So I messaged her and I'm like, would you ever consider teaching ballet via Zoom? And, and she was like, for you guys, totally. So like we hooked her up with our daughters, and out of the three of them, one of them dropped out after 30 minutes. The other one,
make it 30.
Yeah, maybe not even 30. That's Annalise. She'd rather work on the car with Daddy or
She
go
thought it was
fishing.
going to be hip hop. When she found out it wasn't hip hop or breakdancing, she was done.
Yep.
That was it.
And then Lily made it a couple more sessions and then dropped out, and then Naomi just found a passion for it, and yeah, it was awesome. It's awesome. I love it. She almost made me cry last time. It was just because she's super excited about it, and like we tell our girls all the time, you don't have to love what we love. You don't have to be passionate about animals, but you got to find something that you're passionate about.
And she does not love anything that we love, but she loves plants. She loves her succulents.
Plants and ballet.
Yep.
That's awesome. To me, it's awesome because you gave all of them the chance and the opportunity to get into it, and only one of them really took to it and liked it. And what you had just said, that you don't have to be passionate about the same things that we're passionate about, but you have to find something that you're passionate about. I talk to adults and grown people all the time about the exact same thing. I do industrial construction for a living, and I was in a meeting not too long ago with a civil engineer, and he and I were talking, and we were talking about all my reptiles and my passion for that, and he was like, man, I really can't think of anything that's just my passion, my thing. And I was like, that's sad, man. I think everybody, regardless of what it is, like, you need to find that thing that really speaks to you and draws you in, because we get so caught up in the monotony of every day and going to work and doing adulting or whatever, that we lose sight of who we are as people.
Absolutely.
It's my daughter, she loves the animals, but she's really into art, and she loves like anime and creating characters. And it's funny because she'll sit in her room and she'll, not only does she watch the anime shows, but she goes back and looks at like each illustrator and like where the illustrator's history is and stuff, and she'll take inspiration from whatever different illustrators, and she's kind of got her own style that she's drawing with now. And she'll have certain characters that she draws and brings up. She's like, Dad, I want you to voice this one. And I was like, well, Lainey, I don't know anything about this character. She's like, no, that's the point. It's you're gonna make it. You're gonna voice. How do you think he would sound or he would talk? And I love that, man, because like,
awesome.
I can't draw anything, and I would love to be able to draw. Like that. I've always wanted to be able to do tattoos and be a tattoo artist, but I can't draw anything. So having her be able to do that, that's great.
God, and that's creating an entire world and entire characters, and the amount of work that goes into creating that kind of like
even
the structure of it, and then being like, no, Dad, I want you to look at this, and I want you to give me the personality, and then I'll make it based off of the personality. Like, that's incredible, because that's also an amazing way to look for feedback too. And that's an incredibly mature way to look for feedback of, this is my drawing that I just did. Now, Dad, what do you see? How does this make you feel? What do you think this character sees? How do you think they do? Like, that's
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and she's art brain too, so that's her. Like, she she aspired when she was younger to be a Pixar Disney artist. Like, she does a ton of artwork. It's so.
But they make no money.
That's why when you go rewatch this, as you're talking about it, watch her face just get bigger and smilier, and yeah.
I'm also watching the water dance.
It's crazy to me, like, some of the stuff that Lainey does, because, I'll look at, like, her notebooks where she had doodled something, like if she was in class or if she was, watching TV or something like that, and like she'll kind of doodle and she'll get an idea, and then she'll go back, and look at whatever and then her actual sketching pad or drawing books, like, she'll see, Dad, this is how I wanted it to be, but I just had the idea here. And like, my brain doesn't work that way. My brain works of, like, I see the end thing first and then try to figure out how to build to that.
Dude, I'm an engineer.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
How old is your daughter?
She's fixing to be 13.
Oh my God.
That's awesome.
And she's at like that perfect age where,
yeah, you get a little bit of memories. Yeah.
Yeah, you being an engineer, I'm on the civil side of industrial construction. So like, I'm over all the excavating, the dirt work, and then I do like the rebar and concrete carpentry and everything. So like, in that sense, like, if I have any type of drawings that I'm going off of, like, the way that I teach people, like, to run an excavator, like, I tell them, see it in your head, like, see that 3-dimensional that hole in your head, and then start to attack it. And, with people that are more art minded, they just build off of, like, they can start here and then make something more elaborate. And like, I have to see the end first, and then figure out how to build the steps to the end. So.
Yep. Nope. Yeah. My background is kind of funny in all the stuff that I do now. My background's actually in architectural engineering, so HVAC, plumbing, and fire protection design. And then I did my master's in environmental engineering and focused on like groundwater and soil remediation for spills and wastewater treatment plant design. But then it all kind of came back to reptiles, because HVAC engineering is thermodynamics and heat transfer. That's reptiles. And then creating a wastewater treatment plant for a city, if I shrink that way down, that's a turtle filter.
Speaking of turtle filters, I talked to Clint from Clint's Reptiles about this. He had done Brian Cusco's live on Triple B, and then anybody that's a patron on the Patreon of Brian Cusco, after he has people on his lives, we do like an hour Zoom meeting afterwards with just the patrons. And Clint had just put out a video of his common snapper, and I had commented on it because I used to have a common snapper and I had a soft shell turtle together. And I was like, how do you go about your filtration systems with those? Because if you just take a regular aquatic pump, like gallon for gallon, it's not going to work with a turtle. Like, it has to, you need like a sump and you need all this good stuff going on with it. And he was like, well, honestly, I just make it to where I can easily just dump the water, change the water instead of having a filtration system.
That's like the only way you can do it. What kind of soft shell turtle?
It was just a North American soft-shelled river turtle from out here in Arkansas. We didn't keep it long. We just had it for a week, and I just wanted to watch it for a week and study it and let it go.
Awesome.
Yeah, dude.
And they'll give you hella stitches too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we I really don't keep any type of turtles and tortoises anymore. We've talked about going with like a sulcata or something like that, and until we know that there's going to be a place for that tortoise to go later on. You know, we don't want to make that decision. And actually, the live that I was just doing with the kids from the snake pit, we had this conversation about the longevity of reptiles that people buy into, you know, not thinking that this animal can live, you know, 25 up to 100 or so years, depending on the species.
Well, the thing is, even the ones that don't live that long are still like 5 years, 10 years. I mean, there's nothing there is no reptile that has a healthy lifespan of a year or two. Like, you know, if that's what you want, you get a little dwarf hamster.
No, even the Knowles, though, they don't live just 5 years. You're looking at something that still lives like 8, 10 years at least. And some of them even live longer than that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
just because we accept it doesn't mean they can live longer than that.
You know, talking about a Knowles, when I was living in Lake Charles, Louisiana, we were building a project down there, and our back porch, we had a fenced in backyard, and, you know, we would bring the animals out and let them sun and bask and everything outside. And the anoles there, like, they were ridiculous. There was tons of them, and Katie wound up getting them to where, like, they were almost domesticated. She would feed them mealworms out of her hand, these wild anoles. And it started out, you know, she would be sitting on the back porch, and she would see one, and she would toss a mealworm over there and let it come down and get it. And then it'd get a little bit closer and a little bit closer. And like a month later, you know, in the summer, she's like, "Bradley, come here." And I'm like, "What is it?" She's like, "Just come here." And I walk over there, and like this wild anole jumps off the fence, climbs up Katie's leg, and takes the mealworm out of her hand, and then runs back over to the fence. And you know, awesome. You couldn't tell her nothing after that. You know, she's, "I'm a lizard whisperer."
Yeah, oh, that's awesome though. Like, people don't realize, like, there's so much time goes into stuff like that. That quick little clip you saw on YouTube that was cute, or on Facebook, that was like 6 months of gaining that animal's trust and sitting there like this. And
right. And
situation, yeah.
I think, you know, at this point in reptile keeping for us, like, that's where the intrigue is now. Is learning, you know, how much mental capacity these animals really do have. And it's mind-blowing, man. Like with our green iguana, you know, and we didn't raise her from a hatchling. She's a rescued animal that we took in. And just the interaction and the recognition of different people, you know, like that animal is Katie's animal 100%. Like, she loves Katie. She hates me. And it's just interesting how, you know, people don't really talk about the cognizant side of reptiles. You know, like, if people think of them as these cold-blooded, not as evolved animals that, you know, they are just driven food motivation only. But man, they're so intelligent.
Yeah, that's my biggest pet peeve is people going, "Well, they can't feel or think that." I'm like, can you talk? Did you ask one? Like, can you actually communicate with them to get an answer to that, or are you guessing based on what somebody else told you, or the fact that you think that a tortoise is a rock? Because snakes can see infrared and see in 3D, and I can't do either, or smell in 3D, and I can't do either of those things.
There was a great study that was done on Nile crocs or salts. I think it was Niles, because those are so readily available. Yeah. Nile crocs, though, that they were piping in different sounds. Sorry, I have to fidget, so I'm working at the same time. But they were piping in different music and different sounds into this research chamber, and then they were watching the animals. So they would let them return to a status of normal-ish, where it was just kind of relaxed and placid, and then they would pipe in these sounds and then see how the animal reacted. And they were actually watching the electrode reactions in the brain, because they had electrodes in there. When they piped in Mozart, the areas that lit up were the same as when people hear Mozart. So they were actually recognizing, like, sounds and things like that was showing a higher cognitive level than people ever gave them credit for. So it is incredible, and you wouldn't think about it. And it's not like the animal was like thrashing around and feeling threatened. It was just like, oh, that sounds good. All right, cool. Like,
that's insane.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, we put that type of cognitive ability with primates. You know, like there's a ton of studies done with chimpanzees, bonobos, and stuff like that, just because of the close to human element. And, you know, I've seen stuff where their short-term memory is better than most people, you know, like they'll have numbers flash and then the people follow the numbers and then the bonobo just blows the people away, like even highly educated people. But we don't think about that with reptiles as much. And, you know, just to hear, because I was unaware that a study like that had even been done. So just to hear that, like, I love that people are actually taking it into consideration and, you know, even attempting different types of scenarios with reptiles doing stuff like that.
There's actually a ton of studies out there, like not a ton, in the last, I would say 10 years, compared to where there's more, but there's at least a dozen good ones that are different, like, peak of what they were trying to figure out studies where they're showing different cognizance and higher cognizance within reptiles, and it's super freaking cool because it's snakes, it's lizards, it's tortoises, they're starting to finally figure out a little bit more about how they think. And now we're still herpers are really good at just remembering what they got told one time and then never looking into it again and just remembering that. And and even if that thing was from someone else from 50 years ago. But if we brought up I'd like to see, and I think we're going to kind of end up using part of what we're going to talk about later to do that, but moving all of these studies into easily digestible pieces for people to start understanding how amazing it is that how these animals are, and make it more accessible rather than being an article in a magazine they got to find where somebody referenced an article or something, and no one is out there reading scientific articles. And most people, and it's nothing against them, if you didn't come up in a scientific background, you wouldn't even know how to read some of those.
Or find them.
Yeah, or find them or things like that. So, I mean, I that's one thing I would love to see, and I think we're going to continue to try and do is get a lot of that information out there. But anybody, anywhere, if you ever want to learn more about your animals, don't start with Google. Type the word scholar before Google, scholar.google.com. And that's, you can search the scientific name of your pet and it'll come up with,
or even
the common name for some stuff. But like you can get, I found the multiple studies on the wild diets of bearded dragons throughout the seasons and through different areas in their range. I actually got in once, Colodus nigrolabris was this little tiny green lizard from Sri Lanka. It was the first time they ever came in. And I got into the Zilla lab, I got a pair. And the female showed up gravid, so we freaked out because these are the only two anybody ever had. Nobody knew anything about them. So I tried everything I could to find something, couldn't find anything. Had a aha moment of I haven't looked down Google Scholar quick. Looked on there and found a paper on the different species that are in that genus and how they like to find nesting sites. So it was awesome. Then we went downstairs and we designed her habitat to specifically have nesting scenarios that her species would appreciate. Like, no way would anybody in the hobby have known that at all, ever, for that genus even. And then there's a study out there that just breaks it down. Done. Like, that's
awesome. And, you know, like you said, most people, you know, if they just looked up a scientific study, like the jargon, they're not going to understand the jargon, you know.
It's really difficult. And part of it is that it's easy to dismiss. It's easy to dismiss something that's not easily digestible. It's easy to dismiss something you don't have access to because it seems so far away and untangible. And it's really easy to accept, I call it Herperlore, because it's readily available and it's everywhere. I mean, we've all heard stories and everybody's heard different versions of like the same things. Like almost all of us grew up, hearing either, depending on your age range, your green iguana needs to eat crickets, or did you know that people used to tell everybody that green iguanas were fed crickets? Like, it depends on where you are, but that's Herperlore. Straight up. That's how that is.
100%, and it's the same thing, with bro science. In every facet, no matter if it's herping or if it's bodybuilding or basketball or whatever, you're always going to have that. And to have access to something like Google Scholar, like that's amazing, because you can get outside of that Herperlore. And you can actually find, real science. And go ahead.
I was gonna say that I send people there all the time. Anytime I'm scrolling and I see some post of somebody in a group going, "Anybody have a care sheet for this?" Or what's the basking temperature for my whatever? Instead of answering it, I just go, think about it this way: that animal has relatives in the wild somewhere in the world, right? So why not, instead of asking how all these people keep theirs inside a glass box and what they think it should be, why don't take some time and go look at their habitat, find out the range where they're from, pick some cities there, and then look at the yearly, what you can literally type into Google, yearly temperature and humidity data for Doha, Qatar, and it'll give you every month.
Why do you know that right off the top of the head, that place?
I did work in Doha, Qatar. Huh. I never got to go. I just got to do all the work on the project. But like you can do that, and you can, okay, now I know that. Okay, well, and then look at this. Look at pictures of the habitat, and then when you do that, realize that picture you're looking at isn't really where they live. They're there, but that's kind of like looking out of an airplane at Chicago and seeing and just being like, humans live there. No, we're not sprawl all over the walls and buildings of Chicago. They're inside the buildings of Chicago. They're inside areas and they're also sprawled out all over Chicago. But that's how the lizards use that. Like, so think about that. Start thinking about how you do all that differently. And if you start to deep dive into how does that animal spend its day and what does it look like where it's from every year, you can build your own 10 times better care sheet than anyone else is going to give you. And every care sheet that's handed out almost that I've ever seen, it's less of a care sheet, and it's how to not kill your animal in the next 30 days. That's what it should say, because 100%. That is the bare minimum requirements to not kill it. Not make it thrive or really enrich its life or appreciate it. It's here's how to not kill it until you're outside of the return policy.
100%. And to give credit to Rob Christian from Nerd, I saw him talking about it too. Recently he had went herping with Keith McPeak and a few other people, and he was talking about having his temp gun with him at all times.
Yep.
And he would shoot the sun, and then he would shoot the shade, and then he would shoot the actual animal. And then, later on in the evening or afternoon, when the sun was beating down and it was super hot, he would do the same thing. He would shoot the hot area, shoot the shade, shoot the animal, and, try to find the consistencies and inconsistencies of how the animal was thermoregulating itself, and the different areas that the animal was in. And that means so much, because just today, like I said, we were helping my mom do some yard work and everything, and Katie opened the door to a little shovel storage shed, and there was a little DK's brown snake in there. And if you would have taken the ambient temperature from outside, it was completely different than the area that DK's was actually hanging out in, and
Yep.
Sitting right there. And I love that kind of stuff. And I tell people all the time that if I had to choose between herping or keeping, I would choose herping every time. Like if I could only make that decision. And I'm just fascinated by the way that, these animals thrive in the wild. And we have so many ideas in our head that, we have to do this, that, and the other, but it completely contradicts how they're actually living. And that's why I love Dave Kaufman's, Are We Keeping Them Correctly?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. When Ann and I were going, the last time we went out for doing work with the Wisconsin DNR, we were helping with a survey, and we went out and we were doing the same thing. It's taking the temp gun and you're pointing it where you found the animal on the, whatever substrate that's on, and then up, like taking the temperature, and you're sitting there with the wind speed thing, you're looking at the wind speed going, all right, this is the wind speed, this is the relative humidity, and then this is what the ambient temperature is. Because we found out that the humidity actually had a huge amount, like played a huge thing into it. It wasn't necessarily like the temperature on the ground. It was also the humidity. Like that played a huge key aspect into it a lot of times too. And so did just the wind speed. So that was a fun thing that we were learning.
All the time I've ever traveled out in like the Southwest, like I do San Diego or the Pomona shows and things like that, I always have I try to always have a temp gun with me when I road cruise. And I've gotten to certain roads that I've been out there enough, I can just go out and like I temp gun the road as I'm driving, and I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna go get some food because it's gotta get down another 4 degrees. And then I know exactly when they're gonna start coming out based on the temperature.
Yeah, the problem is that you don't always stop the car.
Or I stop it after you fall asleep and I tell you that we're done, and then we're not done, and I go from 0 in about 4 feet, and she keeps going 60.
Yeah.
The whole idea of the things that we're talking about right now, it plays into keeping, because if you write out these basic care sheets, like you said, these 30-day survival sheets, what you do in your area may not work with what I'm doing in mine, or what people are doing all across the United States or even overseas. Like if we can try to mimic what's going on, but if you're just sticking to, well, you need this light and this under tank heater and this, well, it's not working. Everybody's going to change.
There's not, I mean, if you really look at the reptile industry and like what kind of products and things we're using, the glass tanks aren't any different. If it's just a glass tank, it's literally the same as the first glass tanks that were made in the 60s.
Some of them are the glass tanks that were made in the 60s.
Everything else is like a wooden box. Like there's nothing, there's not a lot of, there are some people doing some cool stuff with PVC and things. But again, there's nothing crazy innovative out there when it comes to that kind of stuff. We've moved forward, but we're not, I mean, commercially, there's not that much. It's all just glass tanks. Front opening is great, but sliding glass has existed for however long. So good, but not anything massively huge in the innovation side. Same thing with lighting. They still sell the same style bulb that Thomas Edison turned on 150 years ago. Like, I don't have the same cell phone I had 4 weeks ago. Why are we all using the same 150-year-old bulb? Like, there's cooler technologies out there. And same thing, the biggest thing that changed reptiles and reptile husbandry in the history of the hobby is UVB bulbs from Gary Bagnall and bringing those in through ZoomEd in like 1993 or 94. That changed a lot of things. But since then, we're still using a lot of the same knowledge and the same tactics. The same tactics, the same things. We're just tweaking it a little bit. So you still have people that think that bearded dragons should be on a tile or paper towel substrate because of impaction. Like, that it drives me insane.
You are fully allowed to say whatever you want to say on this show.
I'm trying to think of what I want to say because I just want to scream, but
I did it yesterday. It's your turn this time.
No, like I shared something, or Wally Kern shared something once, and I stuck in my mind forever. It's this stupid little meme, and it said, "Tile is the perfect substrate for lizards native to bathrooms," and that's it. I tell that to people all the time because, like, especially when you're at a show all day, I'm like, guys, dude, my knees are killing me. And I'm standing on a carpeted concrete all day, just one day, and my knees are killing me. My back is killing me. Can you imagine if that was your life all day, all the time? You didn't get to sit down.
That's what you slept on?
Yeah, and then that was your bed. That concrete room was it. And then we put a dish over there for you to eat out of and a water bowl. Like they're living in your bowl. Right. So we're treating these animals like we're scared they're gonna eat dirt, so we got to keep them like that. But in the future, I'm hoping to actually fund some studies with some people we know about. I want to look at the long-term effects on their joints. There's no way these animals aren't getting arthritis and horrible joint issues from being on hard substrates forever. And the risk of impaction is this much for a healthy animal. Unless you keep them on pea gravel or huge rocks and you stuff one down their esophagus. Because I don't know. For people with bearded dragons, I don't know if you've seen their poop.
Or they're dehydrated, or they're not being fed proper diets.
I said healthy.
Yep. Okay.
That's the problem. All impaction, 100% of the time, forever, is always secondary to some other health issue.
100%. And, to your point, there's nobody out in the wild that's washing off these animals' food.
Exactly.
There's nobody that's standing outside saying, "Oh no, don't eat that," because you might get a little bit of dirt in your system.
Actually, in the wild, they're meaner than sin, so you're definitely not doing it.
In the wild, those animals actually eat dirt on purpose a lot of times, and it's not because they're lacking all the calcium that you don't have in their diet from the lack of UV and calcium.
Yeah, it's actually a mineral. So a lot of it is because there's a lot of micronutrients in the dirt and soil. And so that's where they get a lot of it. It's a seasonality thing because depending on where they are, they can be getting micronutrients that are blown over from different areas because you have to figure like the winds are always bringing over like substrates and pollens and things like that from different areas of the country or even across the ocean. So they're always being given more than we can provide them in captivity. And we deny them a lot. And then when we deny them the ability to even be comfortable, and then on top of that, we give them like linear tube UV. This is my soapbox, linear tube LED lights or UV lights. Even the LED lights, like the Aquia ones. I love you, but God damn it. Sorry, am I allowed to swear on this?
You can say whatever you want to say on this. Just to preface that a little bit, we don't promote this to kids. Like if parents have watched before and they kind of know what Zach and I get into and they're comfortable, like my daughter is allowed to watch it, you can say whatever you want to say.
Perfect.
Yeah, we just don't want to hey, we're not explicit and you just shut our whole station down.
Yeah.
That would be bad.
No, you can say whatever you want to say.
Okay.
Way to go, Erica. Yay! Because that would be me. But the linear UVB bulbs, the really long ones, so a lot of people think that that's the way to go because you're covering like a long area and the animals are always getting positive amounts and it's staying nice and stable. Yes, in theory it's staying nice and stable, which actually is complete bullshit. It's not staying stable because there actually is blurps in their mind on that one. But also, those animals are super stressed out the whole time because now it's in this enclosure with no way of escaping the broad sunlight. And UVB it's sun. You're just sitting there under all of it all day, no way of escaping. Even in your house with all of your lights on, you can go into places in your home that are a little bit dimmer and things like that. They have no way of doing that.
Yeah, unless you provide it. That's the thing. Everybody harps about a heat gradient. A UV and lighting light intensity gradient is just as much, if not more important in some cases.
It is more important.
It brings me to the question because you kind of preluded to it. So, with technology advancing and outside of just these remote things like remote thermostats and stuff like where do you see being who you are and where you're at, where do you see technology taking us? What's the next step for us?
It's right here
into a new era where we don't suck.
Yeah,
that's our goal.
That's your hashtag. We don't suck.
No,
that's what I was hoping for.
Yes, our new hashtag is "Don't Suck." Honestly, why are you on
Sorry,
Facebook?
no, stop. Just hold on. Because I was actually looking for something. But no, it's so over the last 6 years up until January of this year, I was the marketing brand manager for Zilla. So I got to launch some amazing products, really help Zilla get into the industry or not the industry. They were in the industry, but back into the hobby and really focused on the grassroots and the people who make the hobby turn and start to really push it. They've done that and are moving in a great direction. And I decided, you know what, I have bigger dreams of what I want to do than I'm able to do there. And so I still have a contract with Zilla. I still consult with them. I still think Zilla is fantastic.
We still use their products.
Yeah, we still have everything in our house. This just gave me an opportunity to kind of chase my own kind of thought and dream. And Erica supported me and jumped on board and actually even took a new job so that she could replace, like, actually she's going to make more than replace any income we lost or could lose. So, and it gave us a position to kind of take that leap. So starting on launching on June 19th, at Schaumburg, we're going to launch our new company, VivTech. And that's just going to focus on everything awesome. No, it's everything that we're trying to use that as a driver for everything we want to see in the hobby. Better husbandry, more into and working with conservation and in situ wildlife conservation with the hobby, looking towards newer innovations to actually innovate husbandry, and then as well as kind of like bringing back together zoos and veterinarians and hobbyists and reconnecting a lot of those broken ties and burned down bridges. So there's a lot of stuff we want to do with it. And a lot of what we're starting with right now is just trying to make husbandry easier, and by using some of the technologies that exist out there and tweaking those technologies to work for us as reptile keepers. So there's some amazing things that exist in totally other segments of the world: cooking, medical, home, doctoring, home improvement, all that stuff. Like, there's so many cool innovations out there, but they don't have a chance to come down to where we could use them. And being an engineering brain, I have to figure out how I can do that. And that's what we started working on trying to do with VivTech. So it's going to be slow and steady because I'm not a billion-dollar company jumping out with $1 million to start a brand, but we're pretty excited about what we're going to do. And then the first thing that we're bringing out to the hobby, and these will be available at Schaumburg, not until Saturday. So I'm just going to screw with all of you that want to come get yours before they sell out, and you'll have to wait. But this is our SureSun 3-watt LED UVA and UVB bulb. So this bulb is 3 watts. It's obviously, you can see this is the box. It's pretty tiny. And that is the UV output. The zone 1 reaches up to 36 inches away from this bulb. And I got it. All right. Zone 4, which is like your bearded dragons, can get 8 to 12 inches away, and that's really good for them. So that's going to be most of your basking spots in your 40 breeders or smaller tanks. And then zone 3 goes down to like 16 inches, again, 40 breeders and larger. And then zone 2, which would be like your iguana or things like that, this will reach 24 inches away. So, I mean, that's pretty incredible. And this is one of 3 bulbs that we're coming out with. And I'll show you the inside. But right there, there's 5 LEDs in there. The 3 golden ones produce the UVB. The yellow one is actually a 6500K plant light. So this will also put out a good plant light for you. And the other one is UVA. So it produces all UVA, UVB, and a plant light. And then on top of it, because we're able to select the diodes and the outputs of those diodes, there is no UVC. And UVC is in all other types of UV bulbs.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, so there's 0 UVC emitted from this bulb.
That is the exciting part. And
that's one of the exciting parts.
We have 2 others that are going to be coming. So we have our jungle cover. This is the Midday Blaze, because we have sexy names. This is the Midday Blaze. Screw the whole desert situation, because not all animals that need super big sun need to be in the middle of the desert.
Like Cyclera.
right?
live on beaches in the Caribbean.
Right.
Or green iguanas that love to bask in the canopy and then come down. They need midday blaze. But we also have jungle cover. So jungle cover is an awesome one, and it'll probably be more akin to what most people know as like a jungle.
Like
a
this would
jungle
be your
bulb.
tropical, but it's semi-arid to tropical species, grassland species, stuff that would bask, but also be able to get away and hide or have filtered light through trees and grass and things like that.
So that would actually, even though it's called jungle cover, it's because we couldn't think of a way to say forest cover without people just freaking out completely. So, because you say forest cover, then everybody thought of like the ground cover, like isopods, and we're like, no, too far. So this is going to be something that's fantastic for your redfoot tortoises, your box turtles, so animals that are living on the floors and also in temperate areas. So that's what we're looking for more for jungle cover. And then our third bulb is actually first call. So first call is not what you would think. It's not like last call where you're at the bar at 3 a.m. and you're like, all right, that looks good enough. This is your first choice in bulbs, not your last choice in bulbs. And this is going to be, I know.
She turns into Billy Mays when she gets really excited about it.
I'm loving it. Keep coming.
It gets me laid. Shut up. And then, so for the first call bulbs, the reason that we're excited about this is because it's for the animals that are considered nocturnal. Because no reptile is truly nocturnal. They need sunlight. All of them do. Even if it's just a gecko that's peeking its head out of the cave for 15 minutes, or its little cave on its own that's in a sand dune for 15 minutes, that's still getting some kind of rays. And also
100%. And I love that. Like that right there means a lot, because I think that a lot of times when we hear those words nocturnal, we get it, or it gets in people's heads to where, well, they're nocturnal, so I can get by with just this. Well,
they're bats. They come out when it's dark. They go back when it's dark. They never see the sun.
In the real world, the sun doesn't go away just because you're nocturnal. Like the sun's there, even if you are a nocturnal animal. I love that. Like that. Everything you just said is perfect.
And the sun, because I'm talking about the sun not going away, with the rays coming down, especially at night, because at 4 p.m., between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., you have the best sun rays going. So 4 p.m. is still, you're getting good rays. You're going to get them later in the evening still, too. The sand is refractile, so it's still bouncing that around. Those animals are still getting it. So this is going to be for our dusk to dawn animals, where that's where you're going to be most active. So your dart frogs, the animals that need lower level UVB, this is where they're going to do the best. And Kenny, we did see your comment, and we are actually giving a manufacturer guarantee of 2 years that this bulb is going to be solid for 2 years. Oh yeah, we're putting our money where our mouth is.
They'll last up to 4.
Yep. So they'll last up to 4, but we're giving a manufacturer's guarantee for 2 years. And when you come to Schaumburg, you can actually screw it in at our booth and frickin' test it right then and there. And I dare you to find somebody else who will let you try and test their bulb and product at their booth.
Somebody's snappy. No, yeah, we actually will have a unit where you can actually screw different bulbs in, and we'll have solar meters and stuff there that you can test them with.
I like transparency, and nobody else does transparency.
I love it. Like, I'm already sold. Like that, no, seriously, like not because of ferociousness and the tenacity. Like the product that you're talking about is a product that we've been dealing with. That everybody's been dealing with bulbs and lighting. Like you said earlier, it's the same bulbs that we've been using forever. And I've literally seen Katie stand in a Petco or a PetSmart or online for hours, reading the back of bulbs, looking at everything, trying to differentiate, between certain things. And everything that you guys are saying, that's what needs to, that's what we need. And when you see the product that just jumps out and says, hey, this fixes the issues that you've had, you don't. I love the tenacity, but you don't even have to have it. Your product's going to sell itself.
I can't help
So
it.
no, I know. But so this is the other fun part. So I was talking with. Let me find. This is what I was looking for earlier. So I started thinking about it. I actually got asked like, what would be the energy savings if you did this? So I picked what would be the worst case scenario, or like what's something that's everybody uses. So 160 watt solar glow, which is a mercury vapor from Exoterra. So the solar glow bulb is if after initial purchase. So after initial purchase, what is your cost from there on? So for over the 4-year life of the SureSun LED, you're gonna have to purchase 3 more of them, and on Amazon they're $60 a piece. And then based on the 160 watts used 12 hours a day for a year, it's gonna cost you about $337 over that amount of time. So your total cost to replace those bulbs and pay for the energy for that bulb is over $500 over those 4 years. If you were to use the SureSun 3-watt LED and then use a 70, I picked a really big one, but a 70-watt par 38 screw-in halogen. Mm-hmm. If you were to use one of those, and and you'd probably replace it once every year, but for the heck of it, I put in that you're gonna have to replace it 6 times. You can get a 6-pack on Amazon for $38. The cost of the electricity for the 2 of them over 4 years is $150. So your total is $192 after that. So a whole bunch of numbers I'm throwing at you guys, but basically over 4 years of changing to a screw-in halogen and this LED, you save $325.
That's awesome. And while you're talking about that, Ryan, we had a comment from Chris Sexton from Heli Guy Serpents. Can you tell us the price of your?
I can. So before we do that though, so this was kind of funny. We've been working on this and testing them for a while, and at Global this year, the Global Pet Expo in March or April, Zoom had launched, and some people might have seen it.
Your face was fantastic.
And I was so mad. It's like they're in my brain. They're launching a UV LED bulb. So I saw it, and I saw it, and I saw the packaging and things, and I've looked it over, and I was looking at it. I was frustrated because I'm like, it's like they're in my head. Like I'm already working on this. I hadn't told anybody about it. And
I had it.
Yeah, and like there it is. So after looking at it though, it's 9 watts, not 3. You have to screw it into a sideways screw, so it has to go into like one of their hoods. You can't put it in a dome. Yep. So it's like one of those rectangular sideways tubes of LEDs. So it's like that, and then they're only doing one size, and the UV output is just as high as like our desert one, except it's a little bit our midday blaze. It's a little bit higher, which ends up being potentially a little dangerous because you can't put that on anything under like 12 inches or something. I don't want to say exactly because I don't have it right in front of me, but it's a very high output. And if you need zone 2, you're going to have to hang that light fixture like 2 feet above your cage. So that kind of sucks. That's one of the reasons we were really happy we went and split it into 3 so that we had multiple options. But anyway, so Zoom, when they came out with it, they also came out letting everybody know that the retail price is going to be about $150 per bulb. So that was kind of a relief for us. When we launch on at Schaumburg, and we're sticking with it, but the retail price of the bulbs is going to start at $89.99 for the 2 for the midday blaze and the jungle cover, and then $20 less for the first call, just because that one has less of the UVB LEDs. So,
but it does have more.
But it has more UVA and plant LEDs, so it actually is going to improve. Not only is it like nice to give those animals some UVB, it's going to improve their natural instincts and natural behaviors, breeding behaviors, day-night cycles, even improve their immune system and things like that because of the UVA-UVB combo.
And it also, if you have planted Vivaria for your tanks, the plant lights that are in there are absolutely fantastic, and they're going to do extremely well under there. Yeah. So we are very happy with our pricing. We could have absolutely gone up, and it's not like anybody would have known. But we decided against it because even though we could have made more, our big thing is that we want to be accessible for it, and profit isn't what motivates us, which is also why 10% of the profit we make from each of our sales. So it's not our cumulative sales at like the end of a quarter. It is each individual sale goes towards US ARC and conservation split. So 5% goes to US ARC and then and US ARC Florida.
Yep.
And then 5% goes to conservation. So if it's an order that's done online, you'll be able to choose from a list of conservation initiatives that are reptile based.
When you check out in your cart, it'll actually have the list and links to each of their websites if you want to read more. And then you just click which one you want to donate to.
You couldn't wait 2 seconds. And then if you do it in person, unfortunately, you don't have that choice.
We'll put the list out.
You don't have that choice, but we're gonna
the rest of them that don't get a choice are just gonna get split across everybody.
Yes.
Yep. So it'll still go to everybody. So what we're gonna do, it's all gonna be reptile related, in situ conservation, wildlife conservation organizations.
Yep. So it's not like sanctuaries. It's not that we don't love sanctuaries. It's just we want to conserve. Like HCI is going to be on there. Amphibian Foundation is going to be on there. It's the ones that are conserving the species and the habitat and really focusing on, groundbreaking education and working with the communities that are in that area to figure out ways to really broaden conservation efforts.
That's incredible. Like, honestly, like that's I want to say thank you because that's huge. Like that means a lot. Because without those things that you guys are talking, we can't do this. Like, we can't keep doing this. And
I want to get to a point where we could have a contest where we fly somebody down to go herping with us in some awesome place in the world, and that exists still, and there's things to see there. I want to take my kids to see that stuff. We talked about that over the next couple of years.
We're putting go on a honeymoon.
We will go on a honeymoon one day. And we'll just basically go in the jungle and sweat and chase lizards, but we'll call that a honeymoon because that's what we would call it. But we're putting a lot of our money going forward into traveling to see the species that we keep and stuff like that instead of the next big thing, because we just want to learn more about their habitat, their husbandry, what they eat, what they do, how they do it, and how can we bring that stuff back in to what we do in our lives and in captivity and things. And just going back to more natural, going back to thinking bigger than just what's in the box in your house, but how does that tie to the animals left in the wild? How does that tie to even just everything to do with keeping reptiles? We need to tie that all back together and get it to be, they need to be more like you need to look at the same at your snake as you do your puppy. It should. It's not anthropomorphizing, not saying you love it and squish its face. And if you say snack in front of me, I'll punch you. But you should still have that passion and care about that animal and care about its well-being. And so that's the 3 pillars of VivTech, and this is going to be on everything, is innovation, making sure that we're finding ways to innovate and bring the hobby forward. Husbandry, so we want to make sure that the best knowledge and husbandry is behind everything we do, including Erica's work with the veterinary community and them being involved to make sure that we're helping solve the problems they see. And then the last pillar is conservation. And how do we use all of that to do conservation with US ARC, conservation of our hobby? And then with all those other organizations, how can we give back to wildlife conservation?
But it's also conservation in a slightly different way. And this is where a big part of my passion comes in. It's also conserving our hobby, conserving the good name of breeders, conserving the good name of herpeticulture. And part of that is by bringing innovative resources that are readily available to our breeders and things like that. So offering the ability to give them UVB guidance, where it's a really cute infographic that they can hand out that has their customized information on it. And it says why this animal that that they sold needs it. The mom pop pet stores have a fighting chance and are now that resource again. So that it's no longer, why did you go to the breeder for information? It's, no, go to your breeder for information. They're great. They gave me this UVB thing and they're totally awesome. They'll tell you what you need. We want to break down that gatekeeping and let everybody have the information that they need on what good husbandry looks like and really let the breeders and herpetoculture recover from some of the stigma that was there so that we can actually conserve our hobby as well.
Yeah.
Man, like honestly, what you guys are doing, like that's what we need. That's what this entire hobby, this community, this industry needs is not only are you giving a product that is going to fill a gap in the husbandry and in the keeping of these, but what you're giving back to everybody else in the community and new people coming in, like that's crazy. Like I love it. I love everything that you, and it kind of, when you were talking to saying, you're like, I don't know if you saw my face, but like, it's kind of making me a little bit, because to me, it's all about, with what I'm trying to do with Wrapped Around Reptiles, Katie and I are moving away from breeding reptiles and going in, like, we're doing birthday parties, we're doing Boy Scout events, we're doing education, we're going to schools. And all of that started because of my daughter's friends coming over to our house and, having these 8-9-year-old little girls holding, handfuls of snakes and, their mind changing. And being able to open people's minds to these stigmatized animals, that these aren't evil creatures. They're just animals. And you can watch these random TV shows, whatever show it is. And I watched a thing the other day and it literally drove me insane. Like, I looked at Katie and my exact words are, how the fuck are these people not in jail? And I watched a guy. There was a random Nerodia crawling across the ground. The dude picks it up, snaps its head off, and is, yeah, woo, cheering. And I looked at Kat, I was like, if that was a dog, this guy would be crucified. But because it's a snake, they're living creatures. They're animals. In the way that you just said, we have to be as passionate about the reptiles as you are your dog or your cat. And it's not anthropomorphizing them. That's not what you're doing, because you can give passion to whatever creature it is. And that's why, I came up with the name for me and Zach, Connected by Creatures, because the reason that, Zach and I ever became friends and talked was because the animals. We have other things in common. The reason I'm talking to you guys right now is because of these creatures, and we are connected because of these animals. And that's all they are. It's just another animal that, we happen to have a passion for, and so many people are misinformed. And,
Absolutely.
It's insane to me to think that it's okay for us, or for people, to abuse these animals and to do all this negative shit because somebody doesn't take the time to understand.
Yeah.
And, knowledge is power. And, to be able to spread things and to conserve, and for you guys to have this product that, I'll be honest with you, you could sell for more than you're selling it for. You could make a shitload of money off of it, but 10% of what you're doing on your own business, your own thing that you're creating, you're giving back to not just me, you're giving it to everybody in this culture and in this. I mean, there's nothing, there's no praise that I could get. And honestly, man, one of the things that I wanted to talk about, that I was going to bring up, was how awesome your marriage proposal was. I was there. I was gonna bring, and I thought that was great. I thought me and Katie were standing at the back of the room with Mr. Brian Gundy, and I saw everybody start bidding, and I was like, shit, I might want to bid. Everybody's throwing money, and I was sitting there thinking, I was like, man, this is drawing a lot of. I was like, these aren't fried pies. How is this going this high? And I watched all that happen, and Katie and I, and Katie looked at me and she had tears in her eyes. She was like, "That's the cutest thing I've ever seen." Like, that
every guy in that room hit me on the way out. They're like, "You dick."
Yeah, you blew it for all of us, man. Like, how the fuck we top that?
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
You know, just those things like that, man. Like there was creativity and there was passion behind that, and obviously you're showing the creativity and the same passion in this business model. And like I said, you're filling a gap, you know, technologically and with the husbandry that, you know, we're all kind of slow to get to that point. And with everything, I'm beyond impressed, man. I'm kind of like I'm kind of in awe
about
with
one thing so far. Like
no, but it's just the care, you know, the care for the community and the care for the animals and the conservation. Because, like you said, it's becoming a time now to where there's places that I might not ever get to take my daughter to go see some of the animals that I've seen. You know, that I might not, even in a small rural area where I'm from, you know, like I live in a tiny little place, population 311. And still, if you talk to people that don't get it, it doesn't mean anything to them. And, you know, I've heard Kevin McCurley say 1,000 times that, you know, one cigarette butt contaminates X amount of gallons of water that, you know, these frogs, these turtles, but we're taking, as humans, we're taking everything and we're not giving back. And, you know, for you guys to not only create a business model that gives back, you're setting a precedent for everybody else, you know, to give back.
This is where me and Erica.
Who's here?
Steve. Oh, sorry.
We're having random people walk in our house, so we're just like,
not random. We know him. No, but no, this is all stuff that I've tried to preach always. It's stuff that I found my passion in reptiles actually is more in educating people and it's more in learning about them and then educating other people about them. And that's why, like, I started the Herp Society in 2010, and just that was all I wanted to do is go out and teach people about reptiles. And even in the stuff that we do with the breeding and the animals we do, it's not like, it's fun and we love it, but I would make, if reptiles were my way of earning a living, it would be really bad because I basically just give everything away to people who think it's cool.
We have nothing that breeds.
Well, what it does, but like, I just want people to be excited and I just want everybody to want to learn about these animals, and I want everybody to be excited about them, and everybody to think, instead of like, what's the coolest animal I could have? What's the coolest setup I could do for an animal? Like, I want to see the guys who have a 4x4 by 8 foot, you know, tall wall rainforest for their knoll. Like, that guy's way cooler than your Bell's Phase lace monitor in a box. I don't give a crap what you think. Like, that's way cooler. Or somebody who comes, I've said this a bunch in the last couple of days, like, you come up to me and tell me about your 30-year-old, your 25-year-old leopard gecko. Everybody else, I don't care what you did this year, shut up, that's cooler. That's cooler. You've kept that animal alive and the husbandry over the years and everything, and that's incredible. That is way more of an accomplishment than making two snakes have sex and then rolling the dice on what comes out of it. Especially when you've done it 4,000 times, the only difference is this one's going to look neater. Like, you know what I mean? That's I'm not knocking people who breed, but it's like you're following a formula that, given the written formula, anybody can do. That's not something I can write you a formula for.
Now, one of the big things that we really want to do with VivTech this is one of the big things that I really want to do with VivTech is I want to make it so that when you're talking about, like, when people are walking around like, oh my God, that guy's like the guy, or that girl's like the girl in the thing, it's not because, like, they have the biggest dick, like the biggest reptile dick, because, like, they have the biggest collection or the most expensive collection. It is because they are putting the most into husbandry. I want to set that level. That is my goal with freaking VivTech, dude. I want to set the level that having the best husbandry possible is the new big dick. Like, you walk in and you swing it and you're like, yeah, I have this setup. I have these different types of substrates. It is a pain in my ass, and it takes me 6 days to clean all of my animals, and it takes me 24 lawn bags, and we just give the garbage man a tip so he doesn't look in the lawn bags. Like, that's what I want to hear, and that's what he wants to hear. And then how you're using the UVB lights on like the tilts, and you're tilting it nicely so they can get different sun gradients. That's what the new standard should be. And that's how we should measure who is bigger in the hobby, is by how much effort you're willing to put into husbandry, not how much money you're willing to throw around on animals.
Yeah.
And I agree 100%. And I was just having the conversation with the kids from the snake pit right before I came on here, and we were talking about genetics and stuff like that. And I literally told them, I was like, man, a lot of times the jungle version or the wild type is my favorite. Like. Especially like I was talking about the conversation about Burmese pythons, and like I love just the normal. Like nice, I think they're
chocolate and rose color.
I never see that.
Nobody ever sees it. And Katie, it's funny because Katie's always said, "Well, everybody has a yellow snake, Bradley. Everybody's got the talking about albinos." And when we got our Burm, she was like, I want the normal one. She's like, everybody's got and to me, you guys are absolutely right. Like, we figured out how to make more of them. We figured out how to produce as many as possible, but let's figure out how to give them the best life possible.
Exactly.
And you can have a great life in racks. We love racks. We think they have a place in the hobby. If you do it well, like, absolutely, go nuts. I've seen people who have bioactive racks with legitimate, like Florida Fast isopods in there, or, springtails in there. You can have incredible stuff. One of the things that we're making is really going to blow you away eventually with this. And we have a second launch coming after this show, because we can't do too long. We can't just put everything out there. It's too much epicness at once, and we understood that, so we're spacing it out so that the second one will come out.
It might cause the apocalypse. I mean,
it legitimately would.
It might also be because I was whiny and I was like, "Can I have like 3 hours of sleep now?" Like, yeah,
he's whiny. Now I need 3.
Yeah, so I screwed up the launch. Now you guys got to wait.
Before it was 2, and now he's like, I just need that 3rd. But it's one of those where we take that into consideration too, and how can we make those animals' lives better too? Because there are animals that do well in them, and we understand that. And especially for like wild-caught animals, there are animals that need to be left alone, and they just need to be.
They just need to hide in a dark hole.
Yeah, the only way they're gonna feel secure is just away from seeing people, away from just tucked in real tight.
Exactly, and for years sometimes. So how do you take care of that? We already have the solutions, and I'll come in the second launch. So the teaser there. But we're taking those kind of things into consideration so that no matter what kind of husbandry you're doing, we're going to allow you to have, big dick energy with it. Seriously, I'm just going to drop all of our hashtags.
Just going to keep,
Don't suck and big dick energy.
That's not going to be our hashtag.
It is.
You can try with the video.
Please make that your hashtag, because that's the greatest hashtag of all time.
Hashtag energy.
I absolutely love everything that we've talked about. Like, I'm everybody in the comments, I don't know if you guys could see the comments, but everybody was talking about how awesome it was. And it is, it's amazing. I hope that not only does everything go well with your launch and everything. So, Chris Sexton was asking if he can go ahead and pre-order some bulbs right now.
I'm a huge dick, and I'm not going to let anybody pre-order. And I'm not actually.
I fought for it. I fought for the pre-order, guys.
I'm not even going to let people buy crap on Friday at the show if they're there while we're setting up. I'm not going to sell anything until Saturday morning.
We legitimately have one of our friends staying here, and she put stickers on like a whole bunch of our products.
She's packing stuff, and I'm like, you still have to wait.
And she won't get her bulbs because he's like, no, you suffer like everybody else.
No, the reason is because I'm afraid that we're going to sell out in the first few hours. And I don't want to do that on Friday and then just wave at
The
people.
show misses it. Yeah.
We're just saying like this.
Yeah, we had stuff yesterday, guys. Sorry, but it was before, so we're waiting. But no, and then after the show, if we still have stock, that'll all go up on the website on Monday.
By the way, Ryan, what do they get if they buy a bulb?
Oh yeah, so actually, if you're at the show, this is pretty cool too, and I'm gonna not break this one.
He broke my last one.
I break a lot of them. So I designed this with a friend, but it's a propagation station. So this is for like your plant clippings. It's got our logo and our website and stuff. It comes with a test tube with a logo on it, and then you can put your plant clippings in there, throw it on your desk, grow it. You can have 100 of these growing all your crazy philodendron that are like $100 a piece all over your house, whatever you want.
And then plant them into your awesome tanks, and then use one of our amazing SureSun bulbs to keep them alive. Oh.
Yeah, that's why I keep her around.
So I've got Zach actually sent me a text message with something he wanted me to touch on with you guys. He said that Miri has told him that there's something interesting about you guys' business cards that they want to hear you guys discuss.
I have no idea what she's talking about.
Okay, that was the text message. They said that there's something interesting about your guys' business cards that they wanted to hear you discuss. That's all I got.
I don't even think anybody's seen our business cards. She has to be talking about something else, and I'm not quite sure yet. It could be like one of the things that I might have talked to her about this. So the other thing too with UV that kind of is kind of a pain is you never really know what your bulb's doing unless you have UV meters, except solar meters are $250 a piece. And when Mom just got done buying
and they're incredible.
They are awesome. But after Mom got done spending $500 on a setup at Petco and getting the bearded dragon, she's not going to buy a $250 meter to check the light that she probably doesn't even know how it works anyway. So we wanted to make that more accessible. So we're also
wait, it could be Dad. That's the cheap ass.
Could be Dad. Dads are cheap asses too. But either way, so we're launching a UV reader as well. So, and this will cost, it's another meter. So it's just like basically like a solar meter. Does the exact same thing, reads the UVB, but it'll be about half the price.
And it's not just that. On the inside of this amazing UV reader, actually I really do like this UV reader. On the inside of it, we're also going to put instructions on how to use it that are broken down easily so that it has the quick guide information of, keep it at the same height when you're testing, how often you should test the sites, how long you should keep your bulb on, because folks, no matter what UV reader you're using, you should keep the lights on for 5 minutes before testing to get a stable reading to allow for the bulbs to warm up. This is especially true for like your mercury vapors. That's actually primarily what they're for. And then we're also including in there a tracking log. So you'll be able to write on there what the day you read the meter on was and then what the bulb was. So you can actually keep track of it. And then once you get down to 70% of the original strength of that bulb, pitch it. Because you know what? Most bulbs are telling you need to get rid of them at, 6 months to 12 months? Mm. And you don't know if that's actually accurate. You don't know if there's usable UVB at that point. We want to make sure that you guys have it. So even if you're not using it with our SureSun products, which you should.
Because then you won't really see a change over the 4 years that you try it.
Yeah, you'll just start staring at it. But even if you don't use it with our SureSun bulbs and you're using it with a different brand's bulbs, that's okay. But keep track of it because you might need to change that out before the 6 or 12 month mark in order to keep your animals actually healthy. Now, do you want to say that horrible thing that you said, or are you good beforehand yesterday?
I don't even know.
Oh, about the different bulb.
Oh, no, she got mad at me because I told everybody on MJ's podcast that was live that The Exoterra bulbs, and I've tested them enough times to know this, don't actually, a lot of them don't even produce enough UVB for an animal to use. So they're cheaper. I don't know why they are like that. I trust Exoterra on a lot of other stuff, but their bulbs just, I've had them independently tested by a lab against Zoomed, Zilla, and Exoterra when I was managing Zilla, and so they have an independent study that shows that. So it's not just my opinion.
That was actually brought up in the comments a little bit ago.
Yeah, I saw it. That's why I'm like, do you want to touch on it?
But one of the things someone's asking is if we're going to be able to design an LED strip that provides UVB into PVC enclosures, and that's actually something that I'm working on with another manufacturer right now on creating a strip that would be able to be routed into PVC so that it could be used for racks, for T8 type enclosures, any kind of PVC enclosures. I see this being the coolest thing for racks, because imagine taking the tall arboreal racks that have the big tub in it. I think it's whatever Cube, Focus Cube Designs did one that's it's the clear Cambro tubs. They're expensive, but they're clear, high tail. They're super. It's like glass. So now take that, run that in a rack, put plant lights, UVA and UVB in there with the heat along the back, and there's almost nothing you can't keep in there, and keep bioactive, and keep stacked on a wall with easy access to everything. It actually takes it and makes racks finally the right way we could keep animals to the nth degree, but in a mobile and modular fashion, because that's the piece we're missing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean that changes the game, as far as not only just keeping the animals that we know in racks, but I mean you could literally make racks that you could house anything.
Almost anything.
Yeah. But also think about it for you guys or some of the other reptile educators, when you're going out and you're doing travel displays, even when you're going to Schaumburg or Tinley or the Show Me shows, when you're going to those events, those are stressful for those animals. Even though they're in captivity long term in a lot of cases, that's still a lot of stress on them. If we're able to provide them in those displays, just some way of having UVB light, just even for an hour, you turn it on for a little bit and then you turn it off, that's going to go a long way in just supporting their immune system.
Yeah. We're
not saying keep it on 24/7. You really shouldn't. But it's going to support their immune system so that they're going to be less susceptible to coming home with bacterial infections, fungal infections. If you have viruses, I can't really help you with that one. But you're going to be less susceptible to coming home with a lot of those infections. And then if you have those young beardies and young animals that are out there, having those around those totes is also going to be incredibly beneficial, again, just for the standpoint alone of keeping those immune systems boosted.
Yeah. So there's a limitless amount of ways that we can use this. I mean, combining it into different types of fixtures, using different types of heating, and that's really what we're looking at with everything that we're looking at is
not so much heating.
Not as much heating. I mean, I'm looking at a couple things because I'm trying to see if there's some unique technologies out there that we don't see that are used for heating, and I found some unique ones. So we'll see. We might actually come out with a type of heat that doesn't really exist right now in our
I'm
industry.
excited. I get to test it out, and it's fun.
But it's all about finding the things that we can tweak and use in our hobby that advances the husbandry, advances the way that we keep them, and makes it easier, but is all priced at an entry-level price where people can get involved and not have to. I don't want it to be the saltwater. I don't want it to turn into saltwater aquarium keeping where the light's $2,000. We don't need that intensity, with a lot of the care, but we need to be able to bring that kind of technology to it. So without having to make it so unreachable that only a few people can have it. And that's the biggest thing is, and that I learned through working with Zilla and being out in the industry and knowing all these pet stores and distributors and just being around as long as I have, understanding where a lot of the cost in the products we buy comes from and how to cut it out.
Mm-hmm.
For fours, pythons, Bateman, right now there's no pre-ordering for their bulbs.
There's no pre-orders right now. The website goes live on the 19th when we go live at Schaumburg. But you won't be able to purchase bulbs until the 21st, the Monday after, and that'll be based on what we have left. If we burn through our entire stock, I will be putting an order in Sunday night at about 2 a.m. And then that will
Not 2 a.m.
Soon as that comes in, then we'll get it up on the website and get everybody live. But we're a little short-handed to start, and we're waiting on more to come. So after the 21st, you should be able to order. And if you don't see them there, and wait a couple weeks, they should pop up.
We started up with the 401k. Cut us some slack, people.
Yeah, I don't quite have the backing of like $1 billion industry to dive into this. So
yeah, we liquidated his 401k, and then I took a position that was, a little bit higher so that I could support, a little bit more and, cover the expenses. So
everybody watching, if you don't buy our bulbs, I'm going to retire homeless and our daughters will starve.
I mean, that says it all. You don't want their kids to starve. They got ballet to do.
And by the way, even if you can't buy a bulb from us, because we understand that not everybody can buy a bulb from us because you might have just bought a whole bunch of other bulbs. Emily, we're looking at you because she just did.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I called her out. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so if you do just stop by to say hi to us, we are offering an amazing giveaway. So a lot of times when you go to these shows, people are giving our cards. They're giving out stickers, and if we start making out, do you think we'll get comments?
Oh, here we go. All right.
I don't know. Everything just froze for some reason.
Yeah, we just saw the swirly thing, and we're like, wonder if they can see us still.
Yeah, I don't know if it was me or if it was you guys or what was going on, but like the whole world just.
No, It was everywhere. But if you stop by our booth, our giveaway is not just stickers. It's actually going to be snake bags, and they're high-end quality snake bags, like what your Gucci bag would come in, or your Gucci bag would come in, or something like that. It's just a very nice, thick bag that is nice and reusable, and then it also comes with an incredible Velcro tie, which could be a loser tie.
So when we were looking at, there's other things we are looking at too, just trying to fill in where we think like the hobby could do better, even in like as breeders and as people who send animals and buy animals, like how they show up. And like if you watch Garrett Hartle, and if you've ever received a package from him, oh my God, like that's the gold standard. And I was looking at what even he does, and I'm like, you know what? Snake bags are something we all use, but they're just kind of like, it's that box right over there. Just go grab one. That we all use, but everybody uses like she didn't realize people use socks, which they use socks, or it's like
disgusting.
or old pillowcases, or even when you buy the nice one, like the snake bags, it's really crappy fabric that like fragments and your snake gets caught in it or scales get pulled off. It's dumb. So we went and found really nice higher end snake bags. I added some unique attributes to it that'll allow you to actually not have to touch the bag at all. If you could just use tools if you're doing something with a venomous snake.
The venomous
snake bags are coming specifically for venomous later, but you could, or I'll actually be making a video on a different way to ship snakes that's actually better for them than what most people do, which this bag will allow you to do easy. And then the other thing too is everybody should be zip tying their bags shut, even if you tie it in a knot, just because. But I hate cutting zip ties off bags. So we made, these are just, where am I going? Here we go. Has a logo and stuff. All it is a Velcro cable tie, but it's just something easy we're throwing with all the bags, and people can continue to reuse it. You can send it on when you send it to the next person, whatever. And hopefully over time, there'll just be thousands of these in the hobby going around instead of you, and we'll have less escapes and less. You ever open up a box with something that was supposed to be in the bag, not in the bag? It's not fun when it's a monitor, which is what it was for me.
Or a corn snake that got under the steering column. That was mine.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, so like it'd be nice if we knew that it was the new standard, like everybody just had these and we just use them and we use a better quality bag, and the strings are basically paracord and you can tie it together a lot longer so you can tie them around the bag. Mm-hmm. And like there's just a lot more options with it. So we're trying to find things like that where we can make tweaks. Erica even did this. So when you send like your snake to somebody like this, you can put this sticker on it.
I don't even know where I'm going.
There you go. Freeze. And it's got like the species name, the birthday, the morph, all the information for that snake. And you can write that on there, slap it on your snake bag when you put it in the box to ship it to somebody. They can peel this off and throw it in their notes. And it's just something easy. It's a special sticker made to stick to the fabric, even if it gets wet.
Yep, it can get peed on by that animal. That animal can pee on it, poop on it, and then it'll sit on it. It's not going to come off until you peel it off, and then you can stick it onto something else. And you can write on it with a standard Sharpie, and it's not going to smear off. The moment you write on it, it doesn't smear back off. And the best part is that it's customizable. So if you are a breeder and you want to, like, you have ball pythons or Morelia, other things like that, and you want to utilize our snake bags, you can. We can customize it with your logo and your name. We can customize the Velcro ties, and we can also customize the stickers. To actually have your logo instead of just saying breeder. It actually has your name and your contact information if you want your warranty information, and it won't say VivTech on there, so they know who to go to for their resources and for future information.
Yeah. And that's not as much like husbandry or anything related, but that's the other part of what we're looking at is like
accountability,
record keeping. What are things that like, how can we create better opportunities for people to use better techniques in everything they do, not just husbandry, but okay, now in shipping, when an animal comes in, can we create something that helps them, de-stress quicker? There's a whole bunch of things in shipping that could be created just to fix mortality rates and stress levels on animals and things like that, and then just how we do our things. Like when I get an animal in, if I don't write it down right then and there, like that bag doesn't have anything on it. I have to go back into my notes or my message from Facebook or Morph Market, write down all that crap in a notebook. Like, you just don't think about it. And it's really nice. When she came up with the idea for the sticker, I'm like, that's awesome. Like, that would be so much nicer for everything. Or when you get the bag
that's still labeled from the other animal that have previously come in, and you're just like, which one of these is it? Hopefully and he's like, not the Cobra, I hope. I'm like, well, shit, I hope so too.
Yeah. Right.
Well, it's like you guys said, Garrett really is the gold standard for that, and another thing that I love about Garrett is he puts the clutch number in his little birth certificate, and he wants everyone to tag that clutch number so you can see the siblings of that snake, and as they're growing, another thing that to what you guys are talking about, like, I love the Morelia guys, like everybody, because of their tracking the lineage and their, I'll give it to those guys. Like, their locality tracking, their lineage, their bloodlines, like they're really in depth on all that stuff. And I really love that about the Morelia side. And, with just having that little tag that you can stick on the bag, like you guys are just like, you can have all that information on there.
And it's like, some of that stuff is a forethought. Like I send stuff all the time and then get asked that stuff later by the person who got it because they forgot to ask me and I didn't tell them and I didn't think about the birthday when or whatever, or when it was hatched or whatever, anything like that. Or they want to just other stuff later that like this just makes it easy where you can just be like, stick it on and be done.
I was talking to Mr. Earl right before we did this. He called me on the phone. And he told me he was going to give you a bunch of shit, Ryan. But the only thing that I've seen him give you shit about was he asked if you had just buffed your head because it was shining real good.
It's a little rough up here. I got to clean it up, but
better.
But I keep it nice and smooth for you, Earl.
And also we have Roger Reptile asks, "Are you making enclosures too?" He might have missed that.
We've discussed what I'd like to see in enclosures in herpeticulture in the future, and unfortunately, we're not anywhere close to that yet. And there's It's not, no, it's not because I don't want to do it. It's because when it comes down to it, enclosures, no matter how I design them, are large and generally have a lot of cost into them in order to create them and ship them and all that kind of stuff. So that's something that's coming later. And the other thing too is I don't want to create an enclosure before I've had a chance to explore what I find is the best innovations for all the pieces that need to go inside it. Like, I don't want to create a box and then be like, here's the cool LED bulb. Everything else is still whatever is out there, figure it out. I want to bring you a box that has the best innovation, has all the best things in it. Here is the diamond standard of husbandry right now in this box. Put some water in that cup and your animal in it. You know, like, that's where I want to get to.
Yeah, before we have the VivTech enclosure, we're going to have
everything.
The VivTech line.
Yep.
Then I love it. And the last question I'm going to take from everybody, because I've had you guys for an hour and a half now, and I really appreciate it. Dylan from D's Balls and Exotics says, not animal related, but just curious. Ryan, what is the necklace? What's your necklace?
Oh, it is a Jerusalem cross. So my mom is a minister, and she actually went. She has always wanted to go to Israel and things like that, and she finally was able to go to Israel and Jerusalem. And she went there and she brought back crosses for Ryan, myself, and the kids, and he wears it as, you know.
I hadn't worn a necklace in like 20 years, like since I was in like middle school, and I just put it on. It was like Easter, and she's like, you have to wear this. I'm like, I forgot I even had it because she just stuck it in a drawer, and like I forgot about it, and I put it on, and I was like, man, I just like it. I'm like, I'm just gonna keep, and then it just kind of stuck around. So yeah.
But no, it's a Jerusalem cross that came all the way from Jerusalem, actually. So
that's awesome.
And then a chain from Amazon.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Like I said, man, I've had you guys for an hour and a half, and normally Zach and I do a couple segments, but we didn't even have to go there today. The information that you guys gave, I knew that there was stuff coming. I knew that there were things that were happening, but how you explained it today and everything that you're doing, I support you guys 110%. And everybody that I talk to, in the reptile hobby, or I'm gonna send them your way. I know that, just because of your passion and everything, that your products are going to be great, but the fact that you guys are giving so much back to the rest of us, and you're giving so much back to the animals, there's nothing that I won't do to support that. We talk about on this podcast, we talk about USARK a lot, because they're fighting the fight for us. And, there's so much crazy legislation that's trying to be pushed right now. There's so many things that are going on. And, I tell my friends that are outside of the reptile world, and even my mom, I told my mom the other day, I was like, Mom, but you should really look into USARK and what they're doing, because like I'll make a post on Facebook or something and I'll say support USARK, but then I'll back it up with, even if you're not into reptiles, even if you're not into animals at all, letting these laws happen is setting a precedent. If you like guns, this is the step to taking away, if we can take away reptiles from people, we can take away guns from people. If you like, fast car, whatever. These are things that are being impeded upon from us, and USARK's fighting that for us.
Yep.
And Mr. Phil Goss gave at Arlington, he gave me the time and did a little interview with me for my YouTube channel, and
absolutely
great guy. And what they're doing is great, and for you guys, what you're doing, not just the USARK but the other conservation, that's amazing, because without the animals in the wild, we don't have the animals that we keep. And, as much as it's nice to be able to, you know, for you guys to turn around and look in your enclosures and to see whatever animals you keep, to be able to go out and walk down the creek and walk down a river and find that animal, turn over a log and see that animal crawl away. Like that's where it really all started. And, you know, it's always going to go back to that.
Absolutely.
And to be able to conserve that, that's just as important as being able to fight legislation to keep the animals. More important.
Yeah. Like we all talk about, you know, if you love animals, you should love scaly animals too. Well, if you love scaly animals, you should not only love the ones you can put in a box in your house, but also the ones out in the wild that need our help and are dying out and are losing their habitat, and are the ones in your house may be the only way you get to interact with those ever again.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing what you guys are doing. And, you know, again, thank you for coming on here. I know Zach is kicking himself in the ass because he wasn't able to be here with you guys. But if there's anything else that you want to say, you know, for anybody else that watches this later, the few people that are still here watching this live, take this time to say it, and then I'll close us out.
Just so everybody knows, we are a woman-owned company that is family-run. So for anybody who has daughters out there, for any young women out there, or those who identify as women out there, we absolutely have a very loud voice, and it is not a patriarchy where men are keeping us down. That is not always the case, because as you can see, one of the biggest men in the hobby, and I'm running a very, very nice company that is absolutely amazing and taking the lead on how it goes in the direction it goes with it. So there is a lot of change that's already being seen with it, and VivTech is definitely going to make a lot of waves and make sure that we continue to make a lot of waves. And one of the ways we're doing that is also by sponsoring Modern Medusa's podcast to really highlight once a month or so a historical figure that was a female herper, or a female somebody in
herpetologist.
Yeah. So that's our big way of supporting the community already too.
Yeah, and for me, I appreciate everybody's support and all the love they send out to us, and just get on Facebook and Instagram, follow what we're doing. We're not posting a ton yet because we're doing a lot of this with people, and we're doing a lot of getting last minute stuff together and not sleeping and running around and things like that. So, and I will figure it out one day. We'll sleep when we die. But no, just like the pages, share some stuff. Keep telling people about it, share the videos like this and stuff like that, and just kind of help us. The more that we grow, the more we're going to be able to give back. And that's the biggest thing for both of us. I don't need a big salary. I don't care about that. I care about the community. Yeah, I'm just going to make her work, and I don't have to have a salary at all. No, but like, I want to see the hobby keep going. I want to see husbandry advance. I want to see these animals be taken care of at a level that we only aspire to get to right now, and I don't think it's that far away. And I think that with the right people in charge, and the right people guiding innovations and bringing things to husbandry and bringing new technologies in, we can get there a lot faster. And I got to a point where I'm kind of, and again, nothing against all the big companies, their goal is to get the entry level consumer, and there's a lot of struggle there with pricing and the technology available and how many steps there is for distribution and how the pricing goes. It's so many things there that make it hard for them to do that. And that's why we can't wait for them to do that. We can't wait for better stuff to just keep coming, because by the time it gets there, it's not going to be that innovative anymore. And there's a lot of opportunity for us to do some cool stuff. And I'm hoping to be the one to kind of be able to drive that and get everybody excited about where we can bring the hobby, where we can bring our husbandry, what these animals can be like in our house in the future, rather than a wall full of drawers. We could do so much more. And I hope everybody gets excited to run along with us. And I'm never going to tell anybody how to do it. I'm just hoping that we can inspire people enough that they want to follow us.
I'm telling people how to do it. Big dick energy. # big dick energy.
Hashtag big dick energy. I love it. I love everything you guys are doing. I love your message. I love your innovation, where you're headed, where you're trying to push this community, this hobby to. Not just now, with you talking about, empowering women in this. I will be the first person to say that even though I might be the one that does these interviews, I might be the one that makes YouTube videos and stuff like that. There is no Wrapped Around Reptiles without Katie. She takes care of the animals. She does everything for them. I have a day job that I work, a lot of hours. She takes care of everything. It wouldn't happen without her. And I say that to everybody. And make sure that everybody knows that, because whether my face is out here or not, she's what really makes it happen.
Yeah, the only reason we get to be cool is because awesome women are behind us.
100%.
Made you.
100%.
Yeah.
And
Yes, Mindy.
we have obviously in common that we have daughters, and let's set the stage and
Absolutely.
set the precedent to where they can do any and everything that anybody's ever thought they could do. And
ours have like people who know us and that drive and the stuff we do. Like we have 3 girls that they're going to be way cooler than us. So you got, if one of them decides to like reptiles, like look out, because they're going to blow past us.
Boogie makes us look lazy.
Yeah, she does.
Again, thank you guys. I loved this interview. I'm glad that this content will be here for everybody to see, and and I'm excited a few years from now to look back at this and to show that this is right before Schaumburg, where you guys are putting your first line of bulbs out, and see where you have grown to that point. In not only a business sense, but the innovation, because like you said, the technology's there. And I feel like if anybody is going to be able to, transfer that technology into what we're doing, obviously you guys are the ones that are doing it. So, thank you. Thank you to everybody that's in the comments, and everybody that's, going to watch this later. Make sure you hit subscribe for Zach and I, because we love doing this. We're having a great time doing it. And we love all of you guys that feel like you are connected by creatures. Later, guys.
Bye guys.